Namaskar, this is Tabassum Maranjo and welcome to the Samavesh podcast. For more information on this podcast, please follow the link in the description of the video. We bring you this podcast today on location from the Office of the Commissioner for Persons with Disability, Goa. We chose Goa as a location for this podcast because it is one of the few states in India to have formed a separate ministry for the empowerment of persons with disability. Our guest on the podcast is Dr. Humyar Mobedji, a disability expert with a remarkable career spanning over 3 decades. He is presently associated with Benetech, a US-based non-profit organization that believes that equitable education is a human right and works for equity in education through creating inclusive classrooms with the help of digital literacy. Dr. Humyar is Director for Program Management with Benetech for Asia and Africa, and in this capacity, he has brought about tremendous change in the ways of learning for the people with print disability and other disabilities, which does not allow them to use and access information required for their learning at a level playing ground with their peers. Dr. Humyar's ability to understand complex situations and express them in simple terms is his hallmark and has made him a trusted authority in the area of accessible technology. Despite being afflicted with retinitis pigmentosa and gradually losing complete vision at an early age, Dr. Humyar's life journey is an inspiration for all, and his dedication and expertise has made him a well-respected leader in the disability community. Welcome, Dr. Humyar, and thank you for joining us on the Samavesh podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Sir, I'm sure our audiences are looking forward to hearing your inspirational life story. So let us start by you telling us about your life's journey.
Well, I was born with retinitis pigmentosa. It's a congenital disease. It's passed on genetically over generations. None of my parents nor my brother has any effect of retinitis pigmentosa, but it can be passed on through your father, grandfather, and generations. So I was born with low vision, with good functional vision in the left eye and with almost no vision in the right. Went to a mainstream school, Xavier's, in Ahmedabad. Studied along with other regular kids in a regular school. But I was fortunate enough to have very sensitized teachers in my school who believed that I could be a part of the school in those days. I'm talking about very early 70s and 80s. In those days, we didn't have any of these technology, or we didn't have any of these rights or any of these conditions or concessions that we have today. But it was just the belief of the teachers that I could be a part of the mainstream classroom. They used to dictate what they wrote in the classroom on the board. They used to help me with my notes, etc. That allowed me to study normally in a very inclusive school. Following my 12th standard, I got admitted into physiotherapy, completed my physiotherapy in 1986, and then started my own practice in Ahmedabad. I was probably the first visually impaired physiotherapist to have his own clinic in India in those days. My practice took me to different heights. In 2000, after the earthquake, which happened in Gujarat, 2001 to be precise, I was also appointed as the chief rehab coordinator for supporting or helping and rehabilitating those who were injured in the earthquake in the region of Bhuj in Gujarat. I was principal rehab coordinator. And following that, I was approached by a management of one of the leading organizations in Gujarat who wanted to start a physiotherapy college for the blind. Now that started in 2005, and I'm extremely proud to state that all my students who came out of the college till 2010, till I was associated with the college, 80% of them found meaningful employment.
That's very good to hear.
So after that, we also founded the Indian Association of the Visually Impaired Physiotherapists. That was started in 2007. But 2010 took a different turn in my career. So come 2010, I was invited by one of the presidents of an adult training center for the blind in Pune. It's called the Pune Blindness Association. And late Mr. Pandya had heard a little bit about me. So he said that we have a technical training institute, which is an adult training center. And he wanted me to transform that center into a modern center where we could train adult visually impaired into employable individuals. I had no experience of managing NGO. So I just said to Mr. Pandya that I'll try for 6 months. If I feel comfortable, I stay. If you feel that I'm not reaching your expectations, please be open. My clinic is there and I'll go back to my clinic. So that was the turning point in my career. And post 2010, I have been associated with NGOs, starting with the Technical Training Institute as the CEO, followed by the CEO for the National Association for the Blind in Delhi, and later on took up the India head for Benetech, followed by the regional head for Benetech, looking after Asia and Africa. So that's my journey in a nutshell.
It's a real inspiration for all of us. Sir, any message for our audiences? How to overcome the challenge of vision impairment and move forward in their lives?
The most important thing that I feel, having seen both sides of life, the sighted world and the visually impaired side of it, is one has to accept his disability or inability as soon as possible. Unfortunately, there was nobody to guide me in those days. And I struggled, especially during my early teens, trying to hide my disability because I was on that borderline between a sighted individual and a blind individual. I could not see well at night, but I could ride a two-wheeler slowly around during daytime. So those who had seen me ride a two-wheeler during daytime, it would be very difficult for them to understand why is this person struggling at night. So obviously the answer was to hide my disability, which went on for quite a bit till I had this opportunity of moving out of my hometown Ahmedabad to Bhuj for the rehab program that I mentioned earlier. And this is where I found a new path because nobody knew me there. So it was very easy to accept and say, I cannot see or I have this difficulty. And the moment you say that, that brings down a lot of load from your back. You're actually relieved to say this few words that I have an issue. Can you help me? Once you start doing that, that transforms your entire life. And this is something that most of our young kids, especially who are caught in between, who have partial vision, who are not accepting their disability, or those who have suddenly lost their vision after living a sighted life for most of their lives. This is something which is very important, and the faster you accept it, the sooner you will be rehabilitated, the sooner you will become as normal as anybody else in society.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure our youngsters will take your advice. Sir, tell us more about Benetech, how it works, and what does it do in the area of accessible technology?
So Benetech is a not-for-profit organization. It's based out of the US, and we have our operations in more than 95 countries. In most of these countries, we serve people with print disabilities through our flagship program called Bookshare. So Bookshare is a global library which hosts more than 13 lakh accessible titles, and these titles can be read by any individual who has a reading barrier. A reading barrier means those who cannot access standard printed text. So as a person with blindness, if I cannot read standard printed text, or it could be a person with dyslexia who has got a learning disability, or it could be somebody with dexterity issues of the hands who cannot hold a book or turn a page of the book, all these individuals are called print disabled. So we serve more than 10 lakh people across the globe through our flagship program called Bookshare.
We are talking to Roel de Haas from Netherlands. He is the international strategist for Benetech. Welcome, Rule, and thank you for joining us on the Samavesh podcast and
Thank
talking
you.
to us today.
Thank you.
Rule, tell us, how long have you been associated with Benetech?
Since October last year, so 13 months.
About 13 months.
Yes.
And what was your motivation in joining Benetech?
I've worked for over 10 years in large reading programs from donors in developing countries. There was always a chapter about disability and inclusion, but it was never used. So there was a program and a budget, but I didn't use it. And I didn't understand it. So Ayan, the CEO of Benetech, he called me and see what we could do to get more countries and projects involved for inclusive education.
Okay. So, and what exactly is your role as international strategist for Benetech?
So I do every country outside the US. We define the strategy together with the people at HQ and with Dr. Homia and Martin Kieti from Kenya. We try to find out which countries are at this moment ready to move forward for inclusive education based on technology. And then I make a kind of a program and a budget, and then we start.
And then you implement these.
Yes.
Okay, and what are your views on digital literacy and how has it helped the people with impairment?
So digital literacy, I think it's the gateway for society, for all disabled people. It's a way for communication. Yes, Braille was a phenomenal methodology to learn how to write and to read, but now technology has been so much improved and evolved over the last 15, 20 years that we can use technology to have all disabled people communicating with other people, having the same, reading the same books, having the same classes, making the same exams, because we have technology. We should try now, it's a time to avoid discussing technology, but just using it. Because in normal life, everyone uses technology. But if we talk about education, everyone says, but it's technology. No, we have technology. It's just creating awareness, creating political awareness, and creating an ecosystem around the child that whenever he comes from school, he's sociable and employable.
And that is true inclusivity as per.
That's true inclusion. That's correct.
Inclusion of the specially able people.
Yes.
With the normal society.
Yes, correct.
And it has come a great way and it is helping them a lot.
Yes.
Going forward, especially in the developing countries, it's going to be a beacon of hope for
Yes.
all people who are unable to read print.
Yes, print is able. And I would like to finalize with a really nice sentence from Rhea from the Philippines. She became blind, she was 18, and she wrote a book.
Okay.
She's now master ICT, by the way, completely blind. She wrote a book, Gaining Vision Upon Losing My Sight.
Oh.
That's what we want. We'd like to have persons who really understand that technology will give you a way out to communicate and do the same things as other persons in the world.
Thank you so much for talking to us today, and you're doing a great job, and we wish you all the best.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hello, we are talking to Mr. Martin Katie, Program Manager for Africa region from Benetech. He is from Kenya, and welcome Martin, and thank you for talking to us on the Samavesh podcast. Tell us, how long have you been associated with Benetech?
So I've been associated with Benetech for say more than 15, 20 years as a user of the Bookshare library. But in terms of working, I joined Benetech in 2019.
Okay. Yeah. So being partially impaired, visually impaired, you were using Bookshare products as a user.
Yes.
And then you joined Benetech as in employment as a program manager.
That's right.
And what was your motivation in joining Benetech?
So my motivation was first my long time excitement about technology in education. I'm a trained teacher. I have excitement around digital technologies. And I've also been working to create policy environments in countries where digital technologies can thrive, especially in the education of learners with visual impairment, being the lead resource person on the ratification of Marrakesh Treaty in Africa. So all these combine to make my excitement in joining Benetech, yes.
And what are the challenges you face in Africa for digital literacy and digital programs?
So there are a couple of challenges we face. One is the cost of devices.
Okay.
Devices are not easily available and at low cost. Number two, we have the challenge of internet connectivity to enable people connect and find the material they need. Number three, we have challenges around the availability of accessible books, especially local content in the countries. And most importantly, policy issues, countries that have not ratified the Marrakesh Treaty, countries that have not put the Marrakesh Treaty in their local law, countries whose educational policies do not support the use of digital technologies in education. Yes.
And any language challenges that you face in Africa?
So there are a number of countries who do not use English, French, or Spanish as media of instruction. South Africa is one of those countries where as many as 9 other languages are recognized and used in learning. And so we do not have the right technologies as it is today to address all those languages. And they also do not have content in accessible formats
Digital
for those
content
languages.
available in those
Yes, in those languages.
So it defeats the purpose what you're trying to say, because if digital content is not available, there will be, the users cannot use digital
Devices. Yeah, exactly, in the education. So far we are able to provide content in English and in Afrikaans. Those are 2 languages in South Africa. And we are working with an organization there called the Blind SA to see how we can provide solutions for the other national languages in South Africa. Yes.
Thank you, Martin, for joining us today and talking to us. You're doing a great job, and we wish you all success.
Thank you very much. Good.
Hi, we're talking to Dr. Lisa Waters-Vaughan from Benetech. She is Vice President Programs for Benetech, located in Washington, D.C., USA. Welcome, Lisa, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, Lisa, how long have you been associated with Benetech?
So Benetech as an organization has been around for 25 years. I joined them 13 years ago.
13 years
Yes.
ago. And what is your role as Vice President Programs?
So I oversee all of our global programming, all the work we do in the US that's funded primarily by the Department of Education, and the work we do worldwide, which has a variety of different funders depending on what project we're working on.
And what was your motivation in joining Benetech, Lisa?
So I've had quite a long story of employment prior to joining Benetech. I started my career in business and worked for a number of software companies. But after a number of years, decided that I wanted to go back to school and get my PhD. So I got a PhD from the University of California, Berkeley in special education. And when I was graduating, there was an advertisement for someone who understood business and education. And I thought there can't be many of us. And I applied, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah, sure. And what are the type of programs that you have developed for the visually impaired and other impaired persons?
Sure. So at Benetech, all the work we do is to support people with what are called print disabilities. Print disabilities are people who may have trouble seeing printed text, someone with a visual impairment, may have trouble holding a book or turning pages, so they may have a physical disability that impacts their ability to read, or someone with a processing or reading issue that may struggle with decoding words or understanding printed text, that by having that text read to them, they're able to understand that work. And that's the Bookshare program. Many people who have heard of our program have heard of Bookshare. Bookshare is primarily funded by the Department of Education in the US to provide free access to all US students in schools, access to our collection. We have over 1 million titles in the collection, and we make sure that we have books that are appropriate to support students' learning. Adults also use our programs. So, but outside of the US, we started with Bookshare. We took Bookshare around the world and wanted to make sure that everybody had access to books. And a number of years ago, we made the decision that any low developing country would have free access to Bookshare. So countries that we've been in, that we've been able to expand upon, have really benefited from having access to these books, not only just in English, but oftentimes in their local language as well. And so that work sort of started the work that we do around the world. We do some other programming in the US, but I'll focus on our international work for today. A number of years ago, when we were explaining Bookshare to people, we found that many struggled with how to use the technology and didn't know how to even get to the books, let alone read the books. And so our wonderful team here in India developed a program, and we were funded by the Lavelle Foundation to have a digital literacy transformation program, which means we went into the schools, we worked with schools, number one, to make sure they understood that students with disabilities deserved to be in school and needed to learn. Number two, teaching technology to the teachers, the students, the administration, so that students who are blind or low vision would have access to mainstream technology that could be used not only today for their learning, but also in the future for future employment. And so we've seen wonderful growth here in India. We've touched over 10,000 lives here in India through this digital transformation program. We work with over 50 partners. We're in 9 different states, work with 3 different governments, all to make sure that we are providing digital access to people with visual impairments.
So basically the whole focus is on the impaired people having easy access to education, to reading, print material.
Absolutely. So if you can imagine being someone with a visual impairment and someone puts a test in front of you that's printed and you can't read that, you can't take that test.
Yes.
And so by having that test put into a system or having a book being able to be read to the student, now the student can consume that information via a tablet or a computer.
Yes.
And we also teach them not just to read, but to write. And that is a very important piece because we want to make sure that when people are learning how to use digital technology, digital devices, they are able to formulate a paragraph in a form that others who are sighted might be able to see. Are we using commas? Are we using paragraphs? How are we structuring our sentences to make sure that this information is there? And so just putting the technology in front of them and saying, go learn, is not enough. It's the training that comes along with that technology that really makes a difference on the students' progress.
It's not only for the students, it's also for the educators, the teachers.
Yes, and the teachers need to know how to use the technology as well. Yes.
And it has helped the impaired people to become independent and learn on their own.
Absolutely.
And access to all knowledge and information.
Absolutely. So if you can imagine someone who is strictly a Braille reader and writer, if their teacher doesn't read or write Braille,
Correct.
they can't give them real-time feedback. But if they could type their responses into the computer, now the teacher is able to give them real-time feedback on what they're saying. And they don't have to rely on scribes. They don't have to rely on trying to find someone who can accurately take the information in their brain
on their behalf
and write exams on their behalf. Yes.
Doing great work, Lisa.
Oh, thank
Benetech
you.
is also doing a great job in the field of education for the impaired people. And we wish you all the best and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
In India, we have a different direction. Over and above providing access to reading, we are also involved with a program for digital literacy, specially aimed at the blind and low vision. Why digital literacy? If you look back into a journey of a person in India with visual impairment, generally it would start either with a special school, or as we call it as blind schools in India, or it could be through a government school. It could be an inclusive school where this blind child is excluded in an inclusive environment. These could be the 2 scenarios.
Yes.
If we separate these 2 and understand each case scenario separately, when you talk about a blind school scenario, they still use traditional methods like Braille, audio for teaching their students. Nothing wrong with Braille. But the only problem is when you come out of the institution, nobody reads Braille. So it becomes an exclusive medium which only you are able to read and write in. So you're not able to connect with the wider world, hence you are excluded. On the other side, those children going into a mainstream school through our Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan programs, they face different challenges. Because a mainstream teacher who's teaching a class of 40, 50, 60 students, and there's this one kid sitting in a corner, the teacher does not know how to support this child. So when the teacher is unable to support this child because the teacher doesn't know Braille, and no fault of the teacher, she is not supposed to know Braille, this child is excluded in spite of being in an inclusive environment. So both these systems have their drawbacks.
That's right.
So to alleviate this situation, to remove this barrier called Braille, we started digital literacy.
Hi, you are at the Benetech booth at the World ICVI conference. So this booth, we are explaining how a print disabled child can be included in the mainstream school by using some day-to-day tools, affordable tools. So first we have the magnetic slate, which is used for a person to learn how to hold a pencil and to draw lines and learn how writing can become easy. Secondly, we have the alphabets, where first he is feeling the alphabet, the shape, the size, then he connects the keyboard is connected to the computer, where A he types and he hears at the same time, and by using these stencils he learns how to write them on a paper. Then comes the Hindi Barakhadi, which also he learns the same way by writing and feeling them. Then we have the geographical maps. Now, shapes and sizes of the state can be felt, but the information about each state is given with the help of this sonic labeler, which we turn it on.
Power on.
Okay, and if you'll see, there are some random stickers stuck over here. So I will place this pen over any random sticker and then you'll see what the magic is.
Jharkhand is a state in eastern India. Capital, Ranchi. Border, West Bengal to the eastern side, Chhattisgarh to the western side, Uttar Pradesh to the northwest, Bihar to the north and Odisha to the south. Major cities, Ranchi, Bokaro, Steel City, Jamshedpur, Dhanbad.
So with this you got the whole information about each state in India, wherever the stickers are stuck. And this is the audio way of getting information, where the teacher herself can record the information, whatever she wants the child to know. Then there is geometry. Generally, a blind child or a print disabled child is said to be exempted from the higher grade math. But here, by feeling, making him touch the angles, each angle, what is the obtuse angle, acute angle, he knows the shape and size of each angle. Now this is the way he's felt them. But now comes the drawing part. So for the drawing, we use a geom kit. Okay. Now this is a plain paper examination board, which we all have. And here are the geometrical equipments. See, a protractor, which you have all used. We all have been using in our school days. And this is a spur wheel. Okay. So I'll put the protractor here and I will just draw a semicircle. And here it is a semicircle. One can feel it, and the child also understands how to draw and use each of these geometry kit items. Now all this is only possible till some, say about a 6th standard. But after 6th, there is an increase in the syllabus. From where does he get all his books for class 6, 7, 8 and all? So those have to come from Bookshare. What is Bookshare? Bookshare is the world's largest library, online library, which has over 13 lakh plus books, including the state board, central board, syllabus textbooks. How is he going to read them but digitally? But how digitally? Now you have a Android phone. An Android phone is in every house. Every house has an Android phone. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll turn on the Android phone. Okay, and I will play a book. So
the main intention was to restore the monarchies that had been overthrown.
This is the book of 10th standard class history book of NCERT. Now I'll be playing this book on Easy Reader mobile app, which is free. Okay, there's a play pause button.
71%. Play pause button.
Piedmont in the south. Prussia was given important new territories on its western frontiers, while Austria was given control of northern Italy.
Now,
but the German Confederation...
The main intention was to restore 73%. Navigate next book default button. Navigation set. Play pause. Pause.
Now, here, when the book was being read, the text was being selected.
Email. 10 new messages.
So,
10 new messages.
This way, the teacher knows what the child is reading and where he is on which page, if he is attending the class also with attention. So, this way, there's inclusion. He and his counterpart, the partner, are reading the same book and same page as the teacher is showing in the class. Now comes the big question of how will he take notes? Very simple. All the sighted children or the mainstream children write notes in their book, but this child will write notes on the phone. How is he going to do that? What he'll do is, this is a keyboard, a USB keyboard with a connector. He'll connect it to the phone, and now the phone becomes a mini laptop. So this is how we include the child with a print disability into the mainstream school, and then he continues his education up till the university and he's ready to be employed. Apart from the phone, you can also, depending upon your funding, there are other options of reading also a book and using how to write. So this is a tab with an external keyboard already in it, and you can here you can read as well as type. Okay, write rather. Then the best option, if one has a funding, is a laptop. This is a small laptop, Acer Celeron. Okay, now with running Windows 11. This is also the best option, provided one can get it. And this is small, easy for a child to carry, and math is also very comfortably possible on this.
Hi, we are talking to Ms. Zainab Chini Kambala, membership head for Benetech at the ICEVI conference at the Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University campus, where Benetech has a stall for digital accessories for the people, visually impaired people and those impaired from reading written print. Hi Zainab.
Hi Tabassum.
Thank you for talking to us on the Samavesh podcast and welcome.
Thank you.
Zainab, tell us how long has been association with Benetech?
I've been working since 2014, February.
For Benetech? For
Benetech. Actually, first it was only Bookshare North Zone, North, East and West. And now I head Asia and Africa.
That's
for
great.
Membership.
Okay. And what was your motivation in joining Benetech?
Actually, I am also a person with blindness, and when I was studying, I used to have a lot of problem with reading of books. and I used to depend a lot on readers because there was no technology available, and I also didn't know about it. So when I didn't know, I used to depend on others to read to me, and people would not come on time to read. I would not have anybody to read when I wanted to. I couldn't ask them to read it again if I never understood. So all those problems were there. So I said, what difficulties I have faced, I don't want the others to face the same. When there's a solution available, let them at least enjoy the way they want to read, what they want to read, how they want to read, when they want to read.
And not be dependent on
Not
anyone.
depend on anybody for, asking them, oh, can you read this to me? Oh, can you tell me what this means? No. Read as much as you want. And I used to always see my brother, my cousins and all reading. So I used to feel, oh God, when will I be able to read? I should take the book really close to my eyes and see, oh, I wish I could read. But no, but then when I came to know about Benetech and they have a library which is so vast, I actually joined it so that I could also read so many books at that time.
Well, so it was your love for reading and not being dependent on anybody for that reason.
Exactly, and the others also shouldn't depend.
Exactly. So others also should avail of this benefit.
Absolutely.
And what are your views on digital literacy and how has it helped people with vision impairment?
So, digital literacy, in my opinion, should be started from class 1 or even for small kindergarten children, because see, today when we are going to start going to school and be with the non-disabled people, we are living with them, we are doing everything the way they are doing, and ultimately when we go to earn a living tomorrow, we have to go into the mainstream. Nobody is going to be able to create a separate world for us. Oh, you're disabled, so we'll create some
separate job for you.
Separate jobs for you or
Correct.
something. So ultimately, when we have to join with them only, so why not join from when we can join?
Exactly, and so that your competencies are also
Exactly
developed accordingly.
And you're not, living in a world of your own.
And then getting into another world where you don't know what you are doing.
Exactly.
Okay. And what is your role in Benetech as membership head?
I do memberships for people with print disability in the library called Bookshare, with about 13 lakh plus books, and show them how to read. So these operations are over all the countries of Asia and Africa.
So basically you are an educator for Bookshare.
Yeah, you can say so.
It's nice talking to you, Zainab.
Thank
You're
you
doing a
so
great
much.
job, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what does digital literacy mean? Using affordable, accessible and locally available assistive technology, we are empowering our students to read and write independently. That is digital literacy. That means with the use of simple devices like an Android phone, a regular Android phone connected to a USB keyboard, a student with blindness or low vision or dyslexia will be able to read like any other individual using the applications on the Android phone, and using the keyboard, he'll be able to type quickly. It could be in his vernacular language, it could be his English, and hence this student will be able to read and write in a normal fashion. That means in a fashion which the mainstream teacher in any school, college would be able to understand, because the teacher will be able to see what is there on the screen. You don't need a separate person to transcribe what is there in Braille. There is no Braille here. It's all mainstream technology. So that is what we have brought onto the table, and that is what we do with schools, where we start with teachers, convince them that this is the right way forward, and then slowly train the teachers in using technology before even introducing students to technology.
That's right. The educator has to be also educated.
Absolutely. Because the main resistance comes from the teachers, especially in blind schools. When we talk about teachers who have been doing the same thing over generations, there has been no progress amongst these teachers. Their level of teaching skills is very poor. They have been only using a few Braille books. Their general knowledge about the entire teaching pedagogy is very poor. So first and foremost, because this is a new system, they feel very scared about it. That's where they start pushing it back. They'll always say, no, 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 blind has to be taught braille, which has no meaning outside. But still, they will refuse to use technology just because they are scared of it. So our first attempt is to convince these teachers that this is for your own good rather than the good of the students. By using technology, it's going to make your teaching easier rather than adding more pressure onto you. But obviously, yes, you'll have to go through a learning program. You'll have to learn technology. And because we are using Android, which is a mainstream technology, every teacher is using an Android, slowly they get over that fear of using technology. And then we introduce technology to the students. So that is how we introduce technology in a school environment.
So your name?
My name is Roy D'Souza. I'm a teacher from Santa Cruz High School.
And which standard students do you teach?
And I teach from class 5 to class 9.
Okay. After accessible technology has come to the school for more inclusive classrooms, what is the transformation you have felt in the learning and teaching process for these students who are with differently abled?
As a teacher, to teach maths and science, we used to carry in class the charts and the technology in PowerPoint. But these were not able to interact with the child. And so the inclusive students, differently abled children, used to find difficult as to what we bring across in the classroom. And so during the post-COVID, we saw children coming with the mobiles, with the Android TV and with a keyboard along with the mobile in classroom and the assisting teacher along with them. So this teacher is to guide the students how to operate the mobile and type on the keyboard using this braille on the keyboard as they were used to braille. And we know that this facility was given for them to respond to us, to interact with us, and to check upon how much they have understood. We have seen across the digital technology and this digital literacy taking place in the inclusive setup. In our school, it was our ex-headmaster, Sir J.J. V. Russell Coutinho, who had lot of love for the children in inclusive setup. And he developed as mobiles were not a part of our education system in the classrooms, offline classrooms. And these children, when they used to come in the mobiles, the regular children, they used to always peep into their mobiles and to see what is to go in their mobiles. But it was all different. It was all education, digital literacy going on in the device.
Thank you so much, sir, for talking to us.
Namaskar.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, madam. Your name?
Tanuja Zalmi.
And you are a senior teacher with National Association for the Blind.
Yes, I'm senior teacher at the same time in charge of National Association for the Blind, Goa State Branch.
Goa State Branch. And how long have you been associated?
Last 22 years.
22 years?
Yes.
And so you would have probably seen the change with digital literacy as it has come.
Yes.
What was it like before and what is it like now?
Yeah. First of all, I would like to tell you that our education pattern is inclusive education pattern. Our students goes to regular school, that is a Santa Cruz school.
Mainstream school.
Yeah, mainstream school. Morning they come to school, and afternoon we teach them as our resource teacher. We teach them by giving an individual attention, that is face to face. And before all the teachers, that means before the digital literacy, all the teachers used to come to Santa Cruz school, that is mainstream, and we used to write all their notes. We used to complete their notes, and again we have to make them a large font, writing only. हम वो उनके लिए जो पार्शियली जो
विजुअली इम्पेयर्ड थे उनके लिए बड़ी प्रिंट
करते थे, और जो टोटली है उनके लिए ऑडियो रिकॉर्डिंग करते थे और ब्रेल नोट्स देते थे. So this was our work. At the same time, we were doing their assignments also, and we were struggling to do all this work because it was too much. Yeah, ज़्यादा काम होता था. Too much work was there. So writing and all. So after the digital literacy, there is a drastic change. What was the before? Even before, exams were giving with the help of writers.
Yes, somebody else would write for the students.
From starting only, and at the last moment, what was happening? The volunteers were not available, so the teacher
they would
has
opt
to run here
out.
and there.
They would opt to have to opt out or something.
But after digital literacy, we started. We taught them how to use NVDA, that is mobile, at the same time computer also, with this one mobile talkback and computer NVDA. Then we gave them keyboard and mobile to school. They carry their mobile to school and with the keyboard, and they started typing slowly. First we gave them a training how to use mobile, and with keyboard also we started giving them ABCD first to type, then small words, and slowly sentences at name. So every day we started giving them typing. Those who are smart, they pick it up quickly, and even now they take their notes in school also. Our teacher coordinate. That means they come here, they sit with them. Not regular now. Last year regularly they were coming, but now they come in twice a week, and these students, they type their notes
Independently they are able to manage.
Type. Even they do their assignment also. For example, Saish Kautankar, who answered his SCC Goa Board examination 2023-24 and he secured 80%. So he answered his exam on computer only.
And he's totally visually impaired.
Totally visually impaired. Yes. Okay. So that is a drastic change. Now even our two students, they answered their exam, first midterm exam, they answered on computer. So we are trying our best to shift our students writer to computer.
To computer.
Yeah.
To digital.
Digital.
And have you also been trained in the using of the apps and the digital technology tools?
Yes, madam.
You have been given training?
Yes.
All the teachers at NEB have been given training?
Yeah, all the teachers.
Okay. You're doing very good work, ma'am, for these children who are visually impaired. And we thank you for talking to us.
Thank you, ma'am. At the same time, I would like to thank you to Bookshare team. Because of Bookshare team, there is a drastic change, and we can, that हम इतना कर सके हमारे बच्चों के लिए. That is from my side, from behalf of National Association for the Blind also, I would like to thank you to Dr. Humia sir, Zainab madam, and all the team.
From Benetech.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
आपका नाम?
मेरा नाम साइश गाउठनकर.
साइश गाउठनकर है.
गाउठनकर.
गाउठनकर है.
Yes.
आप यहाँ पे कब से आ रहे हो?
मैं on the 16th August 2021 जब मैं 8th standard में था ना, तब से मैं आया.
तब से आ रहे हो?
हाँ.
फिर आपने अभी बोर्ड एग्जाम क्लियर किया है?
हाँ, बोर्ड एग्ज़ाम में 10th स्टैंडर्ड में कंप्यूटर एग्ज़ाम लिखा हूँ, और सब बोर्ड एग्ज़ाम्स कंप्यूटर में दिए थे. टेस्ट वगैरह सब यहाँ पे दिए थे, लैपटॉप में भी.
पास हो गए एग्जाम में?
हाँ, पास हो गए.
क्या परसेंटेज आया?
80.
बहुत अच्छी बात है.
यस.
मुझे बताएंगे आप किस तरह पढ़ाई करते हैं?
क्या?
लैपटॉप पे या मोबाइल पे किस तरह पढ़ते हैं?
मैं जब टीचर लोग मुझे नोट्स भेजते हैं तब मैं मोबाइल में पढ़ता हूँ. देयर इज़ two apps आते हैं. वन देयर इज़ इजी रीडर and other apps Insta Reader. He is reading all the notes and all the question answers. I'll show them.
449.
Okay.
Device contact.
This is
Easy Reader.
Easy Reader. So what is a Easy Reader?
Activate.
I'll double tap it.
Home screen 2 of 2. Notepad 3. Easy Reader.
Loading 3 full submit. Oh, हो गया अभी.
My books. Portrait of a lady.
See.
Sir.
I'll. One is chapter, Portrait of a Lady, English textbook, this Word file. See, I'll open it.
Portrait of a lady.
See, one, I'll just forward back to, क्योंकि आपको पता हो ना सके ना इसलिए. See.
Landscape. Expanse.
Wait, I'm just yes.
Undignified. Fables.
This is a words. Okay, so now
Their relationship saw a steeper turn when he was given a room of his own in the
आपके लिए पढ़ रहे हैं मतलब.
this is a app. He's reading
is
all
reading
the
for
notes.
you.
Yes.
Why does the author say that at the age of her grandmother?
If you want to previous notes, no. If you want to previous listen, no. You get option navigate previous. So I can double tap it.
Why does the author
See.
say that at the age of her grandmother?
He's reading previous notes again and again. See.
Till you keep tapping, it will keep reading previous notes.
Yes.
She brushed.
Okay. So this is how you pass your exam, by studying like this?
Yes.
Okay. And you got 80%?
Yes.
Very, very good. Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Wish
Thank
you
you so
all
much.
success.
Thank you, ma'am.
आपका नाम?
रेशा वेर्णेकर.
अच्छा, आप अपने बारे में हमें बताएंगे थोड़ा?
हाँ, मैं रेशा वेर्णेकर गोवा मडगांव से हूँ और मैं एक एनएबी की स्टूडेंट हूँ. मैं एक टोटली ब्लाइंड हूँ और पहले मुझे ऐसे टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में कुछ भी नहीं पता था और जब से मैं एनएबी में आ गई हूँ तब मैं कंप्यूटर सीखा मैंने और मैंने अपना 12th कंप्लीट किया है और ग्रेजुएशन भी कर रही हूँ अब. लेकिन ये टेक्नोलॉजी ने हमें बहुत कुछ हेल्प किया है. पहले 12th तक मुझे बहुत डिफ़िकल्टी होती थी, यहाँ तक कि मैं मेरे घर वालों से, मेरी मम्मी से ऑडियो बुक्स पढ़वाती थी, ऑडियो बना के रीड करती थी और ऑडियो बुक्स पढ़ती थी. अब जैसे जैसे टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में पता चला तो अच्छे से मैं एक्सेस कर पा रही हूँ.
अब आप कैसे करते हो मुझे बताएंगे?
हाँ, ये हमारे कंप्यूटर पे स्क्रीन रीडर डाला हुआ रहता है. तो अब मैं फॉर एग्जांपल एक फोल्डर ओपन करके आपको दिखाती हूँ. ये हो गया. ये हमारी इस तरह से वो पूरा बोल रहा है.
कौन सा फोल्डर है वो बता रहा है आपको?
ये हाँ टाइपिंग और इसमें जो एक्सरसाइज है वो भी बोल रहा है क्या लिखा है इसमें.
अच्छा.
तो अप एरो डाउन एरो कैसे ये हो गया वाटरिंग राइम एक्सरसाइज. तो ये मैंने जैसे ही ओपन किया तो एनवीडीए पूरा रीड कर रहा है.
The plants. The best time to water the plants is early in the morning hour or the evening hour. 2. When should we not water the plants? Blank. 3. Which part of the plant should?
पूरा पढ़ रहा है आपके लिए.
अगर ब्लैंक लाइन है तो ये भी मुझे पता चल रहा है. कहाँ पे स्पेलिंग ग्रामर एरर है वो भी पता चल रहा है. इसी के स्क्रीन रीडर के थ्रू मैं अब मेरी ग्रेजुएशन की बुक्स भी पढ़ पा रही हूँ और मैं मेरा अपने आप में असाइनमेंट भी बना सकती हूँ. हाँ, अपने आप कर लेती हूँ क्योंकि
इसके ऊपर
डिपेंड नहीं है. सिर्फ एक स्क्रीन रीडर के हेल्प से हम सब कुछ कर पाते हैं.
आप ये ग्रेजुएशन किस एरिया में कर रहे हो मैम?
मैं अभी यहाँ पे कंप्यूटर यहाँ पे मैं हाँ बीए कर रही हूँ, इग्नू से कर रही हूँ. हाँ.
ये इंग्लिश में पढ़ रहा है और कौन सी भाषा में पढ़ लेते हैं?
हाँ, ये स्क्रीन रीडर सब रीजनल लैंग्वेज भी पढ़ लेता है और इंग्लिश भी पढ़ लेता है. अगर हमें डिफरेंट टाइप की फीमेल वॉइस भी चाहिए तो वो वॉइस भी चेंज कर सकते हैं, सब कुछ कर सकते हैं. हमें जो वॉइस कंफर्टेबल है उस वॉइस में भी हम पढ़ सकते हैं.
ये कितनी लैंग्वेजेस में होगा आपको पता है?
कौन सी?
नहीं.
हाँ, वो हमारी देवनागरी पढ़ेगा और हमारी इंग्लिश पढ़ेगा यहाँ पे.
ओके. थैंक यू सो मच. आप आगे पढ़ाओ और उसके लिए आपकी शुभकामनाएं.
ओके, थैंक यू सो मच.
और आपको सब सक्सेस. थैंक यू. सर, सिंस Benetech is a US based company, what is your modus operandi in India? What permissions you have to take? What compliances you have to meet from the CSR point of view?
So we are a very small team in India. We're just 7 people in India. But our strength is our partners. We work with local NGOs, we work with government education bodies, we work with the social justice departments, we work with Office of Commissioners for persons with disabilities. These are our partners. So in every state, wherever our operations are, we have a local partner or multiple partners.
Hello, we come to you today from the Office of the Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities, Goa. and we are talking to Shri Subhash Fal Desai, Minister for Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities for the state of Goa. Good afternoon, sir,
Good
and
afternoon, ma'am.
welcome,
Yeah.
and thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Sir, first of all, let me congratulate you.
Thank you so much.
Because Goa is one of the few states where the Department for Persons with Disabilities has recently been established. Sir, as Minister for this department, how do you envisage and what would you want to do for persons with disabilities in the state of Goa?
Well, we have started with the Purple Fest, national level Purple Fest, and that made Goa a innovative state, like taking up the issues related to person with disabilities. And having done that, then the government have introduced additional department, a new department to focus on empowerment of person with disabilities, and it is this department, and I have become a minister for that. And we look at it in a different angle because Goa is a small state, and it could prove to be a role model in this sense. And the issues that we are going to take up is in the person with disabilities, they should be empowered in education, in sports, in social life, and they should be given their right, and there should not be any atrocities, and we should follow all the acts properly. So Goa being a small state, we should make the education and inclusive, or all
inclusive,
all inclusive, and there should not be any barrier. We should have inclusive activities happening all across the Goa. And Goa being a small state and a most progressive state, having a special department for empowerment, we would prove to be a role model for the rest of the states.
I'm sure, sir. And what role does digital literacy play for empowerment of persons with disabilities?
Definitely, digital literacy is very much essential because the world is moving towards the new innovations are happening, new research is happening. There are a lot of technologies which are coming up, and we are very much eager to have these technologies, even if they are not affordable for individuals. The government will come forward, and for that purpose, to have this kind of setup, we have tied up with Benetech, the organization from US, which is in India, which is focusing on blind and low vision people. And these assistive technologies, I think, will really prove to be the best to have inclusive kind of education with digital education, digital learning. And our people, who have a blind or a low vision will be blessed with this technology. And I'm very happy that Benetech, along with our empowerment of person with disability, the commissioner for person with disability, the department for this, and the government totally are for this. And I think Benetech will we will be happy to work with Benetech.
And you're sure that they'll be all inclusive and the persons with learning disabilities will integrate well with the mainstream education stream.
Definitely, they will have this technology with them, and they will have training, coaching for using this new equipments, new aids, new devices, and they will empower themselves. And with all the regular kind of education that they will have, and Goa has, the sensitization, and I think the adoption would be more easy in Goa, and we will prove it.
Thank you, sir. I wish you all the success.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you for talking.
Thank you.
We are talking to Mr. Guru Prasad Pavaskar, Commissioner for Empowerment of Persons with Disability. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you for talking to us today.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. What is your role as Commissioner of Persons with Disabilities?
So as a state commissioner for persons with disabilities, there are duties and responsibilities which are spelled out in the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. The first act came in 1995, which was repealed, and the new act came in 2016. We have many responsibilities, as I said earlier, which are clearly specified in the Act with regards to activities, schemes, grievances, everything related to persons with disabilities. It covers right from early intervention to education to sports, recreation, entertainment. Everything is covered in RPWD Act 2016, and State Commissioner's Office is responsible to ensure that persons with disabilities do not face any kind of issues, problems, and sort out the grievances that they have.
Okay. And so, what changes have taken place in the legal framework for persons with disabilities?
So the State Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities has got quasi-judicial powers, powers of a civil court, and it's a recommendatory body where we can give recommendations to the state governments, various departments of the state governments, to ensure that whatever has been spelled out in the RPWD Act 2016 is given a proper framework and is made effective on ground.
So what is the legal framework for inclusivity of persons with disability in education, in mainstream education?
Yeah, so the RPWD Act talks about inclusive education, not only RPWD Act, but Right to Education, as well as the National Education Policy also speaks about inclusive education. But having said that, it also speaks about special attention or the special education for severe disabilities, which is not, personally I feel that it may not be possible for regular schools to handle when there is a case of multiple severe disabilities. In Goa, we have tied up with Benetech, and the main thing is about the students of the success stories that the students of National Association of Blind, which are now going to regular schools, and similar project we want to implement in other schools as well, where other disabilities are also taken care of, like those who are having autism are now parents are trying to admit them in regular schools, but there are difficulties because the resources are not available at the moment. But we are trying our best to ensure that these facilities are available in the state of Goa.
And this has become possible due to digital literacy.
Yes, very much, very much. I think we are moving towards digital literacy, and there is no choice basically. What I would like to say, there is no choice. You have to move towards digital literacy. We cannot remain with what we were doing 10 years back or 20 years back.
And digital literacy helps the disabled persons to come into the mainstream society with no handicaps and to be treated at equal par with their competitors.
Absolutely. And we have an example in my office, Secretary Ta Haziko, I see, using this digital technology for various purposes, and he's doing an excellent job.
And you partnered with Benetech on this, and how many schools in Goa? And,
No, what Benetech is doing with NEB students, I said earlier, I don't have the exact numbers, but what we did with Benetech also was we did an orientation program right from pre-primary to higher secondary and college principals, professors, teachers, right from lower KG to college section. And we covered almost more than, if I'm not wrong, more than 1,500 faculty. And I think it was a great exercise, but now we need to go to the next step, because these seminars and training programs are for a very short time. We need to keep on ensuring that it actually happens on ground.
Sir, what is the Purple Fest program, if you tell us about it?
So Purple Fest was an inclusive festival which we thought of organizing in Goa. We started in 23, we did it in 24. Last year we had our international organizations, and we called it as International Purple Fest, where we thought all disabilities. There are 21 disabilities which are notified disabilities as per the RPWD Act. Earlier Act had 7 disabilities notified, and this Act has 21. So we wanted to give a stage platform to all the disabilities, where NGOs which are working in various sectors in various parts of the country and abroad come together at one place, interact, exchange their ideas, exchange their best practices, and then take it in their own states or countries and practice those ideas there, or implement those ideas in their own states.
So we congratulate you on the successful event of Purple Fest twice in 2 years, and we wish you all success in
Thank
all
you.
your
The success of Purple Fest goes to all the NGOs, especially not only our office, because NGOs across the country, all the organizations working in the field of disability are partners to Purple Fest. It's such a big event that it's not possible for a Office of the State Commission to host it. It's only because all the NGOs in the field of disability sector who have come together and they are part of it, and they are the organizing team.
And then, so we congratulate you for the initiative at least.
Thank you so much.
And we wish you all success for your future endeavors.
Thank you.
And the work you are doing for the disabled is commendable.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for talking to us. We are talking to Mrs. Vasha Naik, Director for the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disability. First of all, ma'am, let me congratulate you on your recent appointment. And will you please tell us what your roles and responsibilities would be as Director of Department for Empowerment of Persons with Disability?
Well, this is a newly formed department starting from 1st of April, and Government of Goa has taken a very good initiative of forming an independent department as such. So the challenges are wide. So we are trying best to give justice to all the fields of disability. So that's it. It's in a starting phase.
That would be your major role.
Yes.
And how do you envisage taking this forward, ma'am? What would you like to do for the persons with disabilities?
Well, there are a lot of things which we need to put in place with the NEP and inclusive education, then accessibility, where government of Goa is working very hard to make all the buildings accessible, and that way we have state fund and central fund. With the help of that, we are taking maximum buildings to accessibility. We have identified around 800 schools, which also in the next phase we will be seeing that they will be made accessible. So focus is on accessibility, then
accessibility of education.
Accessibility of education and the infrastructure wise also, because being the old buildings, they are hardly accessible.
They are not friendly for people who are visually impaired.
So that is in all respect, even wheelchair accessibility, overall it is not accessible. So we are trying hard. We have right now we have done 45 buildings, we are already accessible, and in that direction we are working. And rest schemes also we are trying to bring Divyang Rath, which will be a full unit which will be taken to the remote areas, and where all physiotherapy and some schemes will be available to the UDID cards and all. So that way we are working in that direction.
And especially for the visually impaired and blind people, you have worked with Benetech on this for inclusion of these people into the mainstream education?
Yes, with we have already started, what to my knowledge, we have already started with NEB and one more college. So yes, we should work with that. It will be useful with more schools, because we have to make them technology savvy, because if it's only braille, then in the long run they will not stand anywhere, because everybody speaks of technology, and we are start from the younger generation only, if we start teaching them, making them accessible to digital, it will be very easy for the government departments also to accept. So it will be a job oriented skill.
And it will make the people with disabilities also feel more inclusive and sense of belonging to the mainstream society. So thank you, ma'am, and we wish you all the best in your endeavors for the disabled community, and we wish you all success.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. We are speaking to Shri Taha Hazik, Secretary to the Office of the Commissioner for Persons with Disability. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
How long has been your association with this office?
So I got my posting here from the year 2022. So it's almost 2.5 years now I'm here posted as the HOD and the Secretary of the office.
Sir, would you be able to tell us something about your life's journey? How you overcame the challenge of losing your vision and reaching where you've reached today in life?
So my vision impairment was detected when I was at the age of 2, and it was told to us that it will be my vision would be increasing, and as the age grows it'll be stagnant and then it gets deteriorated. The same thing happened with me. Till my 10th standard, I had good vision in regards to reading, writing. Still, I used the facility of scribe, and that's the writer in the 10th standard. And after that, during my 11th and 12th standard and the college days, my vision loss was complete. And उसके बाद college वगैरह finish करके I did my graduation in Hindustani classical music. And parallelly, I started working on to accessibility and access technology also, in regards to troubleshooting them, in regards to more and more understanding how exactly assistive technology is useful to persons with visual impairment and other disabilities. Grew up in that, the interest grew up slowly. So parallelly was going up with two streams, so that's the classical music and the accessibility. Did various courses in and around. Started my professional journey from being a computer and a vocal trainer at the NEB Goa. And after that joined Pune's oldest organization called Pune Blindsmen Association, Technical Training Institute, as the library and studio in charge. And wahan se, being there for 2 years, had huge exposure in regards to the fraternity of disability. Had got a chance to explore myself, grow myself more and more, and came back to Goa and joined the Department of Art and Culture as the in charge of the resource center at the Central Library Goa. And in 2015, answered my Goa Civil Services, and with my luck and blessings was I got cleared in first attempt by itself and became the first 100% visual impairment officer, Group A gazetted in Government of Goa. And now currently I'm at the level of Joint Secretaries, Government of Goa, and Additional Collectors, and posted as the Secretary, Commission Disabilities Goa.
And sir, in your present role, what are your responsibilities?
So here, as the name correctly says, the Disability Commission. So commission is, we say to many people that we are the watchdog of the implementation of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016 in the state of Goa. To ensure that all the provisions of the Act are properly implemented. Wherever necessary, we are a quasi-judicial body, so we have notices issued to many people. We have recommendations which we give to Government of Goa in regards to implementing the Act and ensuring the enough dignity to persons with disabilities in the state of Goa.
And preserving their rights.
Yes.
And how do you think digital literacy has transformed the learning process for the visually impaired and print impaired people?
So if I talk about myself, as I'm a person with 100% blindness, and only because of the technology, the assistive technology, like you can see the laptop kept in front of me, I've got a smartphone which I use, the regular phones what everybody uses. And only because of those technology which has come in, I know I'm able to work at the level of administration, administrator at Government of Goa. Otherwise, the dependency would have been huge, which is not currently. So really blessed with it.
Yes, sir. Nice talking to you, sir.
Thank you
for
Same
talking
to you.
us.
Same to you. Thank you.
Sir, your good name?
I'm Rosendo Mendonça from NAB Goa State Branch.
And so you've been associated with NAB for
almost 35 years now.
35 years.
Yeah.
Oh, so you've seen it grow and transform over the years.
Yes, I did.
And so what are your views on this digital literacy program which has recently been adopted?
See, this is something was new for us, still new. And the person responsible was Dr. Homier. And when he introduced digital literacy to us, we did have problems. See, when there's a change, there is always opposition.
Opposition and acceptance is
acceptance, yes. And so teachers, we had more problem with teachers than the students. So, but in I think less than 6 months, the whole change took place. Now they have understood, the children have understood what it means for the children. So there is a huge change now, and I'm sure in another few years' time, it'll be so good, and they'll use this in their life. And today, I see the world only digital world.
That's right.
Yeah, the old systems will disappear.
And it will be all digitalized.
Digital,
And this
everything.
is where these children will learn the value of
Yes.
having their education through digitalization.
Yes, and they're learning, they're happy about it.
But sir, prior to the digitalization of classrooms, you've seen the learning process for the children. Was it, how has it improved after digitalization has come?
See, before this introduction of digital literacy, first of all, let me tell you that we follow integrated education program. Ours is not a school. They go to regular school, regular colleges.
Mainstream schools.
Mainstream. And ours, they stay with us, some students, and we have itinerant teachers who tutor them in the second half. Like any other child in the school who goes for tuitions, so instead of they going to a teacher's place
For tuitions.
so we provide them all this facility and the boarding facility.
Yes.
And the change that has taken place now is a great improvement, because if you go by the old system, they'll remain there only. They will not be able to compete with the others.
With the
We want them to
normal
compete
peers.
with the normal peer. Otherwise, they'll remain there.
Okay, so now the teachers' process also has become simpler.
Yes.
I think the teachers also have to do less work than they had to do before. Because earlier they would have to decipher everything in braille and do a lot of manual work.
Yes, braille is getting outdated now.
Now it's getting outdated and the child is independently able to work.
Yes, yes.
The only thing they need to do is to see whether the child is doing the right thing and guide them correctly.
That is responsibility of the teachers.
Teachers.
Yes.
So it's become simpler to teach, it's become simpler to learn, and it's a win-win situation for all.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much, sir, for talking to us today. Thank you.
Welcome.
Your name, ma'am?
My name is Pia Nandi, and I work with M Junction Services Limited. It's a joint venture of Tata Steel and SAIL, and I lead corporate social responsibility for M Junction.
And how are you associated with Benetech?
Actually, Benetech is one of our knowledge partner in one of the flagship CSR program for M Junction. We call it Project Jyoti. And the focus of Project Jyoti is digital inclusion of visually impaired students in mainframe of education, inclusive education.
Mainstream education.
Yes.
And how many schools would Benetech have covered under this project?
So basically we started with a project with the government, with a Samagra Shiksha, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, as we all know in India. So we started with a Samagra Shiksha project with Chhattisgarh, and then we took it to other state governments, like we had project in West Bengal. Right now we are having a project with Jharkhand. Apart from the government projects, we have worked with Benetech in different blind schools in Meghalaya. We have one project in Assam, we have projects in Kulu, in Maharashtra, MP, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh.
And approximately how many schools would you have covered
with Benetech, we have covered more than 20 schools and 3 state governments.
That's right. And you're doing so much work with Benetech, you think other corporate donors should also support Benetech in this initiative?
Of course, because you know, M Junction has a very small corpus of CSR fund, and we have some other project, but Project Jyoti is one of the major project the flagship project for M Junction. So, but it is not possible for M Junction to do the justice for this cause, for the entire country. But the number is so high and the need is so much, and so for the very limited work has been done. So my request to all the corporates would be like they should come up, they should collaborate, they should join hands, and we can actually scale up this project to everywhere. Even not only with the corporates, with the government also. Government has a lot of funds with EDIP, ID, and many other projects. So with that kind of projects in collaboration with corporate, if that can be a perfect public-private partnership program, that would have been a fantastic model
Can
to
build
scale up.
all-inclusive India.
Absolutely, very rightly said, all-inclusive India.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes, thank you.
So through these partners, we introduce digital literacy at the grassroots level, either through a government Sarmagra Siksha Abhiyan program or through a local blind school which is there in a prominent city. That's how we work. So when we talk about CSR, because obviously there are different components which are required in this entire program. The three main components, if we talk about them, one is content. So your content, whatever the child requires, has to be digitally accessible.
Yes.
Number two is the device on which the child is going to read. The device has to be affordable, as I said earlier. And third and the most important is the training aspect. All these three aspects cost money. To reconvert textbooks, because that's one major issue. The SCRTs, the State Board of Textbooks, and the NCRTs, the National Curriculum, both produce content in inaccessible formats. The PDF that is being hosted on their websites are not very accessible. So hence, an organization like Bookshare has to pick up those PDFs, reconvert them into accessible formats like EPUB, and then host them again on our worldwide platform, Bookshare. This costs money. We are almost spending 45 rupees per page for non-STEM content and 65 rupees per page for a STEM content. STEM means maths and science. Okay. Then comes the devices. The devices cost you, as I said, Android device. So even a simple Android device, generally we have a specification for it that we would request a minimum of 6 to 8 GB RAM and an internal memory of 128 to 256, depending upon the model. These would cost you anything between 15,000 to 20,000 rupees per child. Then comes the training aspect. When our team goes and trains, we send a 2-member team depending upon the size and the number of teachers and the trainees to be trained. So these need to be, travel cost has to be there, local logistics has to be there, hospitality has to be there. So all these need to be factored in. And this is where we want CSRs to come in, support our program, so that we can reach more and more organizations. We can transform the lives of more and more children. And for CSR contributions, what we normally suggest is Benetech doesn't take it directly. We point out the CSR to the local organization and we say, this is the school, this is what they require, directly fund them so that the CSR will get the ATG benefits or whatever income tax benefits the school might have. Some might have 35AC, some might have ATG. So whatever is being offered by the school, the CSR will benefit. We get the money directly into the system and we come and provide the knowledge. That's how we operate.
And that's good to know, sir. But then basically, so you are saying what you've told us now is the components of the cost that would be involved in creating a digital classroom in a school. And it will depend on the number of students, how many print disability students are there in the school. So basically, it would depend on the number of students, and it would be the prerogative of the corporate to decide how many student school they want to sponsor for digitalization.
Absolutely.
So that is the way it works.
Absolutely.
And sir, what is the criteria for selecting the NGOs who would be your execution partners?
So we run through a simple process. There's no checklist of sorts. But what we do is we initially go and meet the management, explain to them what the change is expected to happen. Second, we talk to the teachers, the most important part of this program. We explain to them why this change, what will be there for them to change, what do we expect from these teachers. And if we have a buy-in from the teachers, then we tell the management, yes, we are on board. Then we connect a CSR to the school, see to it that the infrastructure is upgraded, like internet, Wi-Fi, electrification of the classes where you have multiple charging points, etc. Then we bring in the CSR to support our team who would go there and train the students. And on the same time, the procurement also happens depending upon the number of students, depending upon what the school requires, Android devices, or in a few cases, we have even provided laptops to the students. So depending upon each situation, we advise the CSR and the management of the school that this is what is required, this is the costing, this is the most affordable way forward, and we take it forward.
Sir, mostly in CSR, the donors do require as a compliance lots of reports like the fund utilization report and the impact assessment report. Would Benetech be able to provide these reports, or how would you work for these reports?
Great question. So the impact report is provided by Benetech. We do a baseline survey. That means where are we starting with the children and the teachers? A midterm survey. So if it's a 3-year program, that's our general advice to the CSRs that we should fund this program for 3 years because it takes that much of time. And an end survey. So end-line survey compared to the baseline survey will tell you these children were at this level, they have gone through this, and they have reached here. The utilization report comes directly from the organization that the CSR has supported.
Funds have
because the funds are deposited with the organization. We definitely recommend what should be procured. We don't allow the organization to waste that funds by procuring some unnecessary things. So we definitely would say to the CSR that you are given X amount. Out of this X amount, this is what you're supposed to buy. These are the specifications of the equipment that you should buy. So very careful of the fund utilization. But the utilization report comes from the organization. We provide the
impact assessment. The impact assessment report is at what interval, sir? It's twice in a period of 3 years?
Baseline, a midline is done every year, and then end line. Report.
So end is at the end of 3 years.
End of the project. It could be 3 years.
Baseline would be how quickly after the installation of the software?
Once everybody agrees, then we send a team of a neutral evaluator to do a baseline survey. That's generally our practice. Right? If the management and the CSR both agree that yes, we would like to do this baseline, then we select a neutral person, because we don't want us to do the baseline and say we did this at the end of it. No, we want it to be as transparent as possible. So hence we select a neutral individual who would come, evaluate the teachers, evaluate the students, give the report to the CSR, and then he would come and do the midline, and he would be certifying that yes, the student has moved from this point to this point.
So apart from training the educators, which are the teachers, for the Bookshare program also there is a training program for this?
It's all a part of this program. So if I can elaborate on this, we build an ecosystem. An ecosystem is not just reading and writing, but it will also consist of tactile learning, because digital books, the information is there. But unless a blind person touches and feels items, concept learning will never happen. Especially in subjects like maths and science. You need to touch items, you need to touch models. If it's a model of a heart, you need to understand the left auricle, the left ventricle, all that you need to touch and see to get an idea of how it looks like. So there are tactile models which are available. So we again advise the school to procure these models depending upon the subjects being taught. Even for subjects like geography, there are tactile books. So if I want to understand where is Sri Lanka in relation to South India, so I'll be feeling that, okay, this is the Deccan Peninsula, and just below it you have that little pearl shaped island called Sri Lanka. So that understanding the child must have by touching. Again, if you consider a mainstream environment, a regular school environment, I might be a blind student, the student next to me might be a sighted student. So if I have a tactile book in front of me explaining the map of India, even the sighted student sitting next to me would guide me, okay, you look at this is Sri Lanka, this is South India, right? So it becomes very inclusive if you have these tactile books along with you.
Tactile books along with you.
Now that's one part. The other part, mobility. Mobility is again a very integral part of our program. Unless the child develops this mobility skill, even if he completes his graduation, even if he has all the skill sets, if he can't go from his home to his required workplace, how is he going to commute? Is his parents going to take him every day to the workplace? No. So he has to learn mobility. Being a person with blindness, he has to use the white cane to go around. And in most of these schools, you will hear this argument, this is our familiar environment, why should I use a smart cane? Or why should I use a cane? No, it's not only for your environment that you're using. You're going to step out of your blind school one day. That is where you are going to need a cane. Girls feel very shy of using their canes. So we encourage these girls to remove their shyness, to get over it, and at least start using a cane in public. That is what we call building an ecosystem. Third one is taking notes in a classroom. If you go to any blind school environment, generally the students are just sitting there, listening. You can't listen and you can't remember everything that is spoken. You have to take notes. Sighted people write notes. So blind have to learn to type and take notes. So that's again an art that you learn, you practice, and then you will overcome it. Then comes your spellings and your typing speed. It takes time. So again, that's a part of that ecosystem building. Because blind have only heard audio, the spellings are pathetic. We have to retrain them into spellings. We have to actually make the teachers concentrate them on their spellings. So that again has to be brought in. Then comes maths and science. Generally the schools, the special schools, the blind schools, in many states do not allow children to take maths and science after grade 7. Which is such a ridiculous practice. See the paradox. When these students complete their graduation, they apply for government jobs. Every government job entrance exam has papers for maths and reasoning. This is not taught to these children by the government. Because they said, no, you can skip these subjects at school level. So how do you expect them to clear those entrance exams? Obviously, the only way out for them is to take scribes and malpractices. So we need to be clear on our agenda. We need to be clear on our deliverables. What are we expecting from these children? These are blind children. These are not intellectually disabled children. They have got normal memory, normal IQ. Teach them maths. It's just because our teachers in these blind schools are not equipped to teach them maths. We force them to take up subjects like home science and music and all that, which is not going to help them.
That's right. And this may not be of interest to him either.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sir, what about examinations? Are people who are visually impaired allowed to take papers on their own, or they, even in the present scenario, they need a writer to write the paper for them?
Again, a very important question. As a part of that ecosystem building. Today, there are guidelines from NCERT, and a few states have adopted those guidelines, which clearly states that if a student wants to write his exams using technology, he should be permitted what sort of computers can be brought in, what checks can the examination authority make about these. All these are defined. Unfortunately, because of the ignorance of the examination authorities on one side and lack of demand on the other side, there are not many students who are ready to do that. That is why in most states, these guidelines are never heard of. I'll give you an example of Maharashtra. Last year, 2 students in Pune wanted to write their board 12th exams. The board in Maharashtra, in Pune, was completely unaware of the examination guidelines. So we had to give them the guidelines, we had to spoon feed them that these are the guidelines, these are your guidelines, your government has passed these guidelines. Still, these 2 students were forced to use scribe for their first paper of English because the permission did not come on time. It was thanks to the Commissioner for Persons with Disability and his intervention and the press who wrote a lot about it. For the second paper, which happened after 3 days of the first paper, the permission was given to these students. Look at the results. These 2 students who wrote their own exams using computers scored more than those students who use scribes. So that itself is a clear indication that if we have the right policies in place, if we create the right examination policies in place, you will benefit everybody.
So Benetech's intervention in India has started in which year?
We started way back in 2008.
2008.
But that in those days, our program was only dependent or focusing on Bookshare, the library program. So we were only talking about this is our library, these are the number of books that we have, you can read these books like this. But post-COVID, we changed directions. Because during COVID, we all accepted this fact that technology plays a major role in our lives. And the biggest population that was affected was the blind population, because they were all dependent on Braille.
Braille.
And Braille cannot be online. So these students were completely disconnected during COVID. Hence, when we started talking to the organizations post-COVID, the management, and those which had progressive managements, they started accepting, yes, we understand this is the right way forward. Hence, the digital literacy program started in 21.
And how many schools in India have we covered?
So currently we are working with more than 45 organizations that include schools, colleges, and 3 governments.
3 governments.
Yeah,
And
Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and we are starting with Himachal.
okay, so basically how many schools that would have covered, sir?
In terms of schools, blind schools, it is around 45.
Okay.
Plus, under the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, there have been more than, so we have covered more than 10,000 plus students.
Oh, that's good to hear.
That's good, but that's a small, minuscule number.
That I
because
understand.
India has the largest number of blind in the world.
But we have to make a start somewhere, and that
So the
we
start is there. We have proved this works. Now we need people to join hands and take this forward.
Sir, Benetech and yourself are doing commendable work for the people with print disabilities, and I'm sure it's going to go forward and do a lot of value to the education system in India. Thank you for joining us today. I'm sure your insights have been very valuable to our audiences. And thank you so much, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting. And please I would request all our partners and people who would like to join us, reach out to us. There's a lot of work to be done. Let's do it together. Thank you again.
Yes. For all our donors who wish to support Benetech in their noble initiative, the details are in the description of the video. For our viewers who are still with us, a big thank you for your support. And those NGOs and charitable trusts who wish to be showcased on our program, the description, please do contact us. The details are in the description of the video. See you again next time soon. Till then, take care, goodbye, and God bless.